Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Teach from Anywhere app webinar. This is a webinar that helps to give teachers the know-how on what is going on with Google products. Currently, uh, today's topic is beyond our school walls: Google Classroom as a community schooling tool. On our panel today, we have partners from Kenya, Nigeria, and South Africa. And the person who's going to lead us today on our first presentation is Mr. Victor. Mr. Victor Aswani is a teacher with a school in Kenya called Little Lamb Schools in Eldoret. He's an IT specialist and does a lot of curriculum support for computer studies. He's an edtech solution enabler across many schools and has enabled these schools to take up technology. Mr. Victor would like kindly be ready and share with us your sentiments on how you've used Google Classroom as a tool, as a community schooling tool. Mr. Victor?
Hi, Mr. Victor. It seems that you are on mute at the moment, so if you could just take your mute off, that would be fabulous.
Thank you. Once you were hit by COVID-19, the way COVID-19 hit all of us, as a school, we had to look for a solution to reach to our learners. And we looked for many ways, looked at many applications. Most of them are social media applications. And we realized that these social media applications would not really do us good in terms of feedback from parents. We went ahead and as a team, we looked for an online-based system which would give us feedback, and we arrived at Google Classroom. Google Classroom, as a start, proved what we wanted. And we could see that we could upload work and learners would receive that work and they would give back. And there was that mutual communication between the parents and the learners. And we, as a school, decided that this is the platform we will adopt. But soon we realized that there were some few challenges which we were not able to handle. And these challenges were, as a matter of fact, challenges that were not having G Suite as a product. And one of the challenges that we experienced was that we were having very many learners. Another challenge we experienced was that work that was done, especially in forms, could not be brought back because of the fact that these learners could not be able to export, the teachers would not be able to export the results from the forms. So we went out to look for a solution that could give us a solution to these challenges. In one of the forums, in one of the virtual meetings, we met Power IT, and Oscar, who led the talk, came up as a Google partner. And Oscar brought us up to the part where we realized that we could actually use Power IT as a company to connect to Google and procure G Suite. So we did procure G Suite, and we went ahead and Power IT did up this email setups, they did up the training, and now there was the gap that was missing in the other personal school Gmail account had now been built. We could now actually see that now learners were able to use their personalized emails, and they were able to give feedback. And when a teacher gives feedback, they could give feedback to these learners individually. G Suite gave us unlimited drive access. We were able to have as much information we would use there. We would use the calendar very well and effectively. I'll explain that a bit later. The email setup that now moved from learners using parents' emails to their own individual personalized emails became a very good thing, because now teachers could be able to handle individual learners differently. Google Documents, we had the sheets, we had the slides, we had the docs. This came in as a very good issue because teachers could be shared and they could edit it from anywhere, wherever they were. We were also able to record live lessons. This is a sample of one of the classes, some of our classes we created, and you can see in a Google environment through Google Classroom. These are our classes. Quickly, we set up classes. We sent mails to parents and sent them invitations. They joined, and soon we could actually see that there was now that mutual communication. Teachers, on the other hand, could be able to now upload work wherever they are on their phones, and once the learners would work on these assignments or quizzes, they would bring back, teachers would mark, and there was now feedback. The major component that we had always missed in all the other platforms and also in Google Classroom as a basic product now was being gotten through the G Suite, the capability. Learners could easily log in through their devices, and they could easily be able to see what teachers have uploaded, do what quizzes they have been given, and feedback was now personalized. We could see now an increased feedback between the parents and the teachers. You could actually see that parents had now become positive towards Google Classroom as a product. We went ahead. Initially when we started, we had a pilot class 6, which we did all the trials on it. And once we were comfortable that this is what we needed, then now we rolled out to all the other classes. You can see this is a sample of that class. And due to Google Classroom, we were able to do an end of term or end of session, which most schools could not do because they were at home. We were able to divide our subjects into topics. You can see on the left-hand side, we were able to divide our subjects into topics, and you can see on this same class, this is a sample math class for class 6. You can see the learning areas of the topics are clearly outlined there. And there was now that issue of teachers now being able to send content, learners receiving content, acting on the content, giving back feedback. That mutual communication is what we really wanted, and Google Classroom gave us. One of the things that Google Classroom also came in very positively was the calendar. We realized that most of our learners were missing lessons, others would miss live lessons because they had not really understood the calendar, and also the fact that since they're at home, time checking becomes a bit of an issue. So we went and started sensitizing them on how to follow up the calendar. On their phone, notifications will pop up telling them a live lesson is this time, or there is an assignment that is due. So you see the calendar came in as a very good feature which assisted us as a school. And you can see this is a sample screenshot of our calendar programs for September. And you can see the month is pretty busy. Every day there are lessons, either live and in Google Classroom. And you can see one thing is that most of our live lessons, as a school, we decided that we will do most of our live lessons in the afternoon, evenings afternoon. The reason is this: most of our learners are sharing gadgets. Either you have a family that has 3 or 4 learners, or you have a family that are using the parent's gadget. So when the parent leaves and goes to work, it means during the day they cannot attend. So these lessons being in the afternoon provided that opportunity of most of them joining. As we moved on, we also realized that we had that unlimited space in G Suite, which we could actually record those lessons. And any parent who would come later in the evening, if their learners missed a lesson, they would simply go and replay the recording. Or even if a learner was in that lesson and they did not really get what was being taught very well, they could simply review that lesson. Once we picked up Google Classroom and we had sorted out the issue of contact, teachers and students, we needed now to reach the learners virtually. And Google Classroom through G Suite gave us Google Meet. Google Meet gave us what the last component that we actually missed, and that component was the remote learning, whereby we could actually see these learners face to face, remotely wherever they were. It was a nice experience. It was very exciting because you could see your teacher, but not next to you. You could see your desk mate, but not next to you. You could talk to them. We realized there was increased participation in Google Classroom because people just came as a start to see what was going on. They wanted to see the others. They wanted to see their classmates. They wanted to see this platform. Due to that, the content that was being taught on Google Classroom was being taught on Google Meet was being examined on Google Classroom. So it would force the learners to come attend the live lesson, then go back to Google Classroom to attempt the quizzes. This also brought another component. Parents got close to the school because now they had to call. Every time parents had a challenge, either technologically or school-related, they would call. Some of them would even just use a Google Meet to reach to the school. They wanted now to try this new thing. And also the fact that we were recording these lessons. We have so many recordings of the lessons. The live lessons are so many. People would simply go and review those lessons over and over again. We have a sample lesson that was just done presently. This is English grade 3. And you can see that the teacher would present what the teacher is teaching. We have the learners who have joined into that lesson. And the teachers would always encourage the learners to use the chat section to comment. When a teacher asks a question, they would post their answer in the chat section. At times, the teacher would ask the learners to unmute their microphones and simply go ahead and give an oral answer, which became so nice and this became so good. So as we were continuing with Google Classroom and Google Meet and the other benefits of G Suite, we as a school realized that there are other things that are not really about teaching that we could do. So one thing is that the community outside, they got a bit interested in what we were doing because this was good. We were doing good work. Learners were keeping busy. There was contact going around. Feedback was so good. So community wanted, the outside environment wanted to be involved. Most of them came in and they subscribed and they started learning. So we actually found that we were expanding our territory. Co-teaching was also there. Teachers in a live meeting would come together. Initially, this was for purposes of network. In case there's a network problem and one teacher goes off as they're teaching, the other simply picks up. But we realized later that this is a boost because the other teacher could explain a concept differently than another, therefore making it easier for other learners to understand other teachers differently. So we actually realized that the co-teaching is a boost towards virtual teaching. There was immense increase in technical know-how in both the teachers, the parents, and the students. These guys got so tech-savvy. Guys did things on phone they never believed could be done. You could find a child going online and researching and giving out content to the teacher. People became so interested. And the communication again between the parents and teachers increased because of this kind of forum. We were also able to do guiding and counseling forums, where we divided our classes into groups. We would have different groups having different guiding and counseling, guided by a teacher, guided by a parent, and this in a way turned again also to be a good way of keeping our learners involved during that time. There were peer counseling. Learners would be created a Google Meet link and they would go and create groups and start talking and counseling one another. We as a school also as an IT department went and did an internet safety forum. We told the parents and the learners how to navigate in the virtual world. This is something that had just come. They had not been in this before. They had to be explained to how it works. So we had to sensitize them on that. The school had strategic meetings. Due to the new technology that had just come, it was paramount that every weekend, after a week, parents sit down, as teachers sit down as the management team, and they discuss on how the week went and strategies for the following week. And these meetings turned out to be very good meetings because we would simply see what errors we had and iron them out. PTA meetings are also done through virtual meetings. Parents and their class teachers would call meetings, they would discuss matters pertaining to their classes. This is just one of some of the flyers we sent to parents as we were having our guiding counseling sessions, our internet safety forum, and we actually could be able to reach parents to their places of work, in their homes, and be able to talk to them, be able to give them, tell them that with the pandemic, learning does not stop. Contact does not stop. We can still meet one another. We can still talk to one another. We can still send content and continue learning like normal days have been. As I come to a conclusion, I would like to thank Google for G Suite. I would like to thank Power IT for the setup and training. They did a superb job. Management of Litlands, the managers have been so good. They stood with us. We were able to work up to where we are up to this time. The parents, the teachers, thank you for their work. The teachers were so happy. They were so involved in this. They gave out their all and they made this work. I want to thank everyone, and I want to thank also the organizers of this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph, for your very insightful information. Next up, we have, thank you, Victor, for your very insightful information. Next up, we have Mr. Joseph from Nigeria. Mr. Joseph is a teacher, is an ICT coordinator and instructor at Bloomberg Schools, and is also a level 1 certified Google educator. Mr. Joseph will take us through Google Classroom as a collaborative tool. Mr. Joseph, can they take on the presentation?
Thank you very much, Alan. So we are looking at Google Classroom as a collaborative tool in the school system. Our focus will be on the stream for class communications, allocating works for students to work together in groups, and giving works for all students to work on the same documents or materials, asking questions in the class for each student to answer and respond to each other, as well as inviting guidance and sending home email summaries. So let's dive into it. Here is my Google Classroom homepage. On my Google Classroom homepage, you can see the various classes I have created or classes that I have joined as a teacher. To the top left, you have the main menu that you can use to navigate to various sections of the Google Classrooms. So, and all the classes you have created or joined as a teacher or student are there. To create a classroom, you go to the top
Sorry, guys. Unfortunately, we've had a technical issue with Mr. Joseph. We will go on with Ms. Ntokozo from South Africa. Ms. Ntokozo is currently an English and Global Studies teacher at Inanda Cemetery, and she's a certified Google Level 2 educator. Ms. Ntokozo, are you ready to share your insights with the rest of the viewers of the webinar? Kindly can go forward.
Yes, thank you, Ellen. Right. like Ellen has said, my name is Nontogo. I teach at a school called Inanda Seminary in Inanda, Durban. I'm basically going to be showing you guys my application, my view of our Google Classroom as a community schooling tool. So I've got a couple of pointers regarding Google Classroom as a community schooling tool. So firstly, one is that it needs to be accessible. Any tool that is for communal learning needs to be accessible. And with the access, you need to be able to navigate the tool. It needs to be easily navigable. Another important factor is the communication within this tool. Google Classroom is quite good with making sure that all parties are able to communicate accordingly, be it students, be it teachers, be it co-teachers. It even has an option for parents to be involved in the students' learning. And most importantly, we are doing it for content, and then we need to make sure that we are using the platform to make a connection with the learning, because whatever we're learning, we are learning for a certain connection. The good thing with Google Classroom is you have many classes in one location. So I could be co-teaching some classes and also single-handedly just teaching others, or others enrolled as a student. Good thing is within each classes, I can have different topics which attain to different sectors of whatever subject matter I'm dealing with. In this particular case, this is my English classroom, which has a novel or drama topic, and under that, I've got a lot of task or assessment relating. An important feature of Google Classroom is the way in which we can supportively provide constructive feedback to our students, and that is through a couple of factors that I am going to highlight. Right, so what you're seeing in your screen right now is my comment on a student's assignment, and that is one way of actually providing constructive feedback to students. And this is during the process, during the learning process. We are guiding students using Google Classroom. Another feature here is when you have a co-teacher in the classroom, they are able to guide you and also comment on the learning process and comment on whatever is being done by students. Good thing also with Google Classroom and giving constructive feedback is you can always directly assign certain comments to a particular student. So this applies to more collaborative type of work on Google Classroom. A person can respond to what was assigned directly to them. Another good thing with giving feedback is you can directly comment on any aspect of a student's submission. In this case, highlighting on the factor of families and what else needs to be included when dealing with this particular assignment. Another good thing that I like, my favorite, is the ability of being able to email students directly regarding their submissions. So in this particular case, I've highlighted 2 students who have submitted their work prior to submission date. And the issue here is they have submitted something which isn't really complete. So I'm highlighting them, and the plan is to email them directly with the guidelines. Like I mentioned before, Google Classroom as a community schooling tool enables us to be constructive, to communicate, and also to help students make a connection with their learning. And this is what's happening here. Good thing as well is we can have private comments. So this allows me and my students to talk through the assignment and advise on how to improve and how to work towards the best of their ability. Another important feature with Google Classroom and trying to provide constructive feedback is something called the comment bank. So the moment you try to comment on a student's assignment or assessment, it sort of picks up certain words that you've used before. So you don't have to start afresh and use different comments every time you're trying to simply, I was trying to go for please, and the moment I start typing PLEA, then it starts giving me all the comments that have the word please. So that's a good thing about the comment bank. You don't have to start working with everything from scratch. I'm sure you guys are wondering now, how do you actually get to do all of that? How do you get to work with a comment bank? And also, how do you, in real time, work with giving students proper feedback, constructive feedback, and in turn, how do they end up being able to submit their assigned projects? So I'm going to share the screen on my Google Classroom. Right, so this is my Google Classroom, demo classroom. As you can see, schooling, and this is my stream for announcements and classwork. So that's where all the assigned work for students goes. The assignment that I had assigned for my students is based on literature, and I've got 2 students who have handed in. So what I'm going to do is go straight to viewing my assignment and checking who has submitted. So I've got 2 students who have submitted their assignments. So what I want to do is simply just view one of them. Starting with Dylan.
Hey, Nontogo.
Yes.
It's still on your presentation slide. So if you just want to share the other screen, and then we can get your demo on.
Pardon me. I will share. Okay, so I'm sharing the correct screen right now. That is for my, okay, here we are. So I'm on my Google Classroom right now, Google Classroom Community Schooling, and I'm on my students' work, and I've got 2 students, Dylan and Kevin, going straight to Kevin's work in order to give him feedback on what he's been working on. I can see his submission. And as you can see on the right-hand side of my classroom, I've got the mark allocation here, and I've got the date in which he had handed in his assignment. And most importantly, I've got the rubric here, which is going to help me in providing him constructive feedback. So this is called the grading tool. So now I'm just going to demonstrate how I would comment on different aspects of his assignment. So just by clicking on, let's say, a certain box that he's written, a certain piece of work that he's written, right clicking, I can go to comment and type. Okay, so there's my pop-up. So that comes from the comment bank. Please check project instructions and redo. So that's one way of commenting. The other way of commenting, which I demonstrated on my slide, was through private comments. So this is right at the bottom of the grading tool. I'm just doing random comments here just for demo purposes. So that's private commenting. And now going on to grading his assignment. So the rubric has 3 criteria. So I've got content, I've got language, and I've got presentation skills. So by looking at his assessment, how did he do? Going on to content, let's say I decide to give him 15 out of 20, language 10 out of 15, and presentation 3 out of 5. So what the grading tool does is it makes a total of what he has altogether, and it provides the sum 28 out of 40 as a draft. So this is all until I decide to return to him. So at the moment, he doesn't see this mark, but he will only get to see it once I've returned the assignment. So the moment I click on return assignment, the student will be notified and can check on any marks that I've left. So good thing with being constantly on check and making sure that your students are submitting accordingly and making sure that you as a teacher is checking on the student's progress is, let's say, for example, you have returned a student's assignment like I just did. They can always go and check on how they did with content, how they did with language, and how they did their presentation. And if it's not due date yet, they can always redo their assignment and resubmit so that I can remark. So that's how the comment work. So you've got comment on a specific item on the student's assignment, then you've got a private comment, and just to demonstrate on how you would do the email student, the email to students. So you simply have to highlight the student that you want to send an email to. So I'm not going to email Kevin because I already marked his assignment. So I'm going to go to Dylan and go to email selected student. This goes to a new pop-up. There I can tap my assignment. Maybe I have noticed that Dylan has not fully maximized the opportunity to work on his assessment, or maybe I want to advise him on something related to his assessment, or maybe just want to commend him on his hard work. Just gonna type well done and send to Dylan. So that's another way of giving constructive feedback to students. You might be wondering, how does one actually get to do rubrics, and how do rubrics work on Google Classroom? Simple. So you have to make sure that you have an assignment that is assigned. I'm gonna go quickly and create one. So going to the create option, create assignment, and let's say it's prepared speech, for example, and we've got all these tools. You've got points on the right hand side, you've got a due date. I'm just going to select randomly, and then topic. This is very important. So this allows proper navigation for students. So the moment a student knows what topic the particular assignment or project is under, it makes it easier for them to navigate. So I've got prepared speech, that falls under orals. Now rubrics, how do I create rubrics? So 3 options. You've got a create rubric option, you've got a reuse rubric. So that's if you have a previously utilized rubric like I had for the previous project, which I marked from Kevin. Or the third option is by importing the rubrics from Sheet. So what I'm gonna do is create a rubric from scratch. So I've got my criteria, which is presentation, and then I have to have a point for presentation. Let's say it's 5, that's just an example. Then I add another criteria, content, points for content, 10. So this particular one is out of 15. And on the right-hand side, you already have the total, and then you save the rubric. So that's how you create a rubric, which also contributes to you providing constructive feedback and actually guiding your students through the learning process. Once all is sorted and you have included instructions, added any media to support the student's assignment, or created any other form of media, or used any Google Suite for Education app to support learning, then you can assign the project or assessment. Another good feature with doing this is you can do this check for plagiarism, originality. This is good, but it has a limit with most assignments, so you only enabled 5 per class. I'm just gonna click on continue. So next time somebody submits, then I am able to check, were they being authentic in their submissions? Did they use their own words, and so on? Then I can submit my assignment. So my take on using Google as a community schooling tool is it needs to involve everybody. So you're looking at myself as a teacher, the student, you're looking at the school, and you're also looking at parents. How are parents involved? So under the People tab on Google Classroom, you have teachers, and you could have co-teachers as well. You have students, and then you have this feature, which is called guardians. So if you've added guardians, you can always email them to update them on their students' progress and so on. And if they have signed up for actually receiving progress on their kids, then that too is also possible. So Google Classroom as a community schooling tool is very beneficial, and I strongly recommend Google Classroom since it has a lot of features and is inclusive of the community as a whole. After all, we are learning not only for ourselves, but essentially to impact on those around us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nontogo, for your presentation. Those are very good presentation skills. I'm sure most of our viewers have really enjoyed it. I'd like to remind everyone else that in case you have any questions or comments, you can drop them on the YouTube link. Some of your questions can be answered after the presentation is complete. Mr. Joseph had faced some few challenges, so we'd like to bring him back. Mr. Joseph, are you ready for your presentation? Kindly take it up.
Yes. Thank you, Alan. So we were talking about Google Classroom as a collaborative tool. So I told you to create a classroom, you use the plus sign at the top here, you click, then click Create Class. When you click Create Class, it will load the Create Class tab interface where you can enter the name of the class, you can enter the teacher responsible for the subject or the class or the section of school here, enter the subject. If you know the physical room number in your class, enter it, then hit the Create button to create your classroom. In seconds, the classroom will be created for you and added to the Google Classroom home page. Once the classroom is created, this is what you see. Now, when you create a classroom, Google will pick a theme that suits the name that you use to create a classroom. So take, for instance, this ICT demo classroom. This theme was picked by Google and given to this classroom. Okay, let's go into the classroom. Right now, inside the classroom, we have 4 tabs: stream, classwork, people, grades. The stream is for class conversations or communications. So as a teacher, if you have something to say to your student, or a student has something to say to the class, a student comes to the class stream and share what he or she has to say. So right here, you click share something with your class to communicate information to your class. As you can see, the example I have here, this is an announcement containing a link to a site that I want my student to check out and leave their comments based on this site. So you can see the comments coming in. We have 2 comments here already. Okay, so the conversation can keep going like that. So all the students can comment on this particular announcement. And how do you do that? Just click share something with your class. Enter what you want to share with your class here. You can add material as the case may be. So let's say, for instance, you want to add a document from Drive, you click Google Drive. If you have a link to a site that you need to add, you click link. If you have a file in your system you need to share with them, click file. Then if you have a YouTube video, click YouTube video. So for this demo, let's use a link. Click link. We're linking to another site. And this is a site. I'm copying the URL of the site. Copy, then put it there. Add the link. Then I can post in the classroom. My student can see this and they can comment on it. I can also schedule it to be posted at a later date as it suits me. But right now I'm posting it in the classroom and you'll see it in the stream. All the students in the class can see what I just posted, follow the site and comment on it. Now, next we are looking at allocating works or tasks for students to work in groups. Okay, so let me show you the example of the ones I have done. You see these 2 assignments were given as group works. You can see the number of students here, 2 students for this, then 2 students for this also. So if I click, I will see those who have worked in that group and turn in their work. So you see 2 of them have been assigned this material. 1 is done and turned in, and the other is still yet undone. Now, how do you assign work in groups to your student? You go to Classwork tab. When you click classwork tab, you have the create button here. Click create, click assignments. When you click assignment, give it a title that suits what you want. Add instructions here to your students, then add the material that you want them to work on. So let's say, for instance, I'm adding a material from my drive. So I click drive, then pick a material, an assignment that I'm giving to them as a group task. Okay? So once the assignment is added, so I can pick any of the assignments, insert it, then I can decide the permission level to give to the student. Right here now, they can view this file, but I want them to work on it. So I give them the permission level. Student can edit file, okay? Which means they can work on this file together. Then pick a topic from the topics you have already. Assign a due date here, the last time they should do the work and turn it in. Enter time. You can set the grade, the mark, or you can make it ungraded here. So let's say this is 10 marks, then this is where you do the grouping. You have your list of students with you. So here you have to select only those who will be working on this task as a group. So I'm picking Kayode and Olabode for this particular task. So 2 of them for this task, and I assign straight to them, and they are the only ones who will get this task and work on it. For the next set of students, I will go back again, pick a new material, and assign to them also the same way. So 2 of them get their own material also to work on collaboratively in the classroom. Once I assign it, they will see it in their stream also, as well as in the class. Next, giving work to students to work on a single material or document or task as a whole class. So let me show you the sample of the one I have here. This is an assignment that has been given to the whole class to work on. Okay, so they all have to work on this particular assignment. You can see all of them have been assigned this task. One of them has turned in, and the other 3 are yet to turn in. Now, how do you do that? You go to classwork also, you click create, click assignment if it's an assignment, enter the title, give your instructions, add the material from where you have it in your drive or a link to a site, especially from your drive, add the material from your drive, enter a topic of choice as it suits you, okay? Then give it a due date. Give it a due date from here. Give it points. Okay, let's make this 20. Then ensure you select all students. In this case, select all students for them to work on it. And make sure when you pick the material, when you add the material here, give them edit right. Student can edit file. So once you do that, they all will get the file as an assignment, and they can work on it at the same time in real time. Okay, so the one I just assigned to them, they've all worked on it, and there's only one that has turned in, the others are yet to turn in. Next, asking questions in the classroom for students to respond and as well as respond to each other's answers. So you see the example here. This is a question I asked in the classroom. This is a question. The question is visual schooling versus physical schooling. Which do you prefer? Okay, I left a comment for them here to feel free to express themselves. And as you can see, it's only one that has turned in. Okay, I can reply to this student from here. And other classmates can also see this response and also respond to what Olabode has given as answer. Now, how do you do that? You go to classwork. When you get to classwork, click create, click question. Okay, when you get to question, there are 2 types of questions here. You have short answer as well as multiple choice. So if you are using multiple choice, you have the options here. And if you're using short answer, you enter the question here. So you can enter your question here. What do you think? Okay, then leave instructions for them. If there's a material you need to add for them to reference, add the material from here also. Then ensure at the bottom right, you check mark students can reply to each order. So once you check mark this, it means students can see the response of other students and also reply to their response. But if you also want them to edit their answers after submission or after turning in, you have to check mark this. But if you don't want that, you leave it alone. Then give it a topic, assign due dates and time as it suits you. You can give it points, 10 points, then give it to all students to work on. Make sure all students are selected. Then ask your question straight away, or you can schedule it to be asked at a later time once it is due. Now, the next way we collaborate in classroom is through guidance. So you can invite guardians or parents to the classroom to receive a summary of all the activities that their ward or children are doing in the classroom. So you go to People tab for all the students who have joined your class. In the middle, you will see Invite Guidance. But these had to be turned on by your IT admin before you can do this. Okay, so invite guardian, you click invite guardians, and you can enter the email address provided to you by the guardian. You enter the email address, any email address, could be a Yahoo email, Outlook, as the case may be, enter it and invite your guardian. The guardian will get a notification email, and once he or she accepts the invite, the guardian can determine how often he or she will receive email summaries of all the activities that the ward has done in the class. Announcements, assignments, tasks that the child has done, and the ones that he or she missed will all be sent as email summary to the guardian. So with this, we collaborate in classroom. Classroom is a very effective tool to get to your students, even if they are far away, they are not with you right now physically in the school. And all the works that you have assigned with due date, you see them lined up here, okay? And you can review all of them. Thank you very much. Next week, see you again. I'm handing you over back to Alan.
Thank you very much, Joseph. That was a very nice presentation. Now we'll head over to the Q&A session. I'd like to invite Mr. Kevin from Cloud EDU. He will field some questions that the users have, and some of our presenters can answer the questions. Mr. Kevin, please welcome.
Thank you, Alan. Hello, everybody. So we've got a really interesting question to start out with, and I'm going to ask Nontogo to answer first, and then Victor. The question is, the pandemic has brought out unexplored potentials. For instance, now we're connected, but we're in different locations. Are you exploring how learners can be engaged in learning even as they miss class? How do you engage learners even when they're not in front of you?
Right. I think it's very important that whenever you give learners any assessment project, that it's relatable to their context. Where are they? What are they doing? And how can we relate what they are doing at home or where they are to what we will be doing in class? So it needs to be relatable, and we need to explore any methods that permit for that to happen. So I am basically engaging them through trying to make sure that what they do is real to their context. Yeah.
And Victor?
Maybe, thank you, Kevin. I'm thinking with a G Suite and Google products. If these learners are put in a way or in a group that they can be able to access these products, they can continue learning like school never stopped. We continued, and we actually went ahead giving out the content, and we could reach these learners wherever they are. The goodness about technology is that it does not limit you in terms of location. There are people in this great nation of Kenya who are in the remote of the remotest Kenya. But as long as there is network, and as long as someone has a gadget which they can access these facilities, learning is not supposed to stop. Learning goes on like schools never closed. Contact between learners and teachers goes on. These learners can be able to even using things like Google Docs, where a teacher would create a document and makes it to be edited by any learner. They can simply have a discussion by themselves, not even with the inclusion of a teacher, just as long as they have subscribed to a platform that gives them this access.
Great. And Joseph, do you want to chime in?
Yes. Another good thing is the classes can be recorded, or you can pre-record your class and send it or share with your student, or drop it in the classroom. At a later time, the students, when they have connection, they can go there, pick it up and watch it also.
Joseph, that really is a great response. It actually leads to one of the next questions that we have, which is, one of the challenges in engaging learners in practical work when using online platforms. How can this be addressed? So I think the questioner is thinking of things like laboratory practicums and other practical tasks that kids have to do. How have you guys managed that in this current environment?
Let me come in here. In this case, what we did, when you give them tasks like that to do, we ask them to film it. They can turn on their camera and do it live, and you record it for the class. Or we told them to pre-record and share with us in the classroom, which they did. They did very good, pretty well, and they dropped them in the classroom. In that way, we can assess them practically on what to do.
That's great. Nontogo or Victor?
Apart from the issue of cameras, you see, even math is a practical subject, so it has to be done practically. So one of the very, very good tools that is also incorporated in G Suite is a Jamboard. And we realized that going live and teaching just mathematical concepts without doing it practically became a bit of a challenge. So we actually would install Jamboard in our phones, the teacher's phone, and the teacher would simply make a customized light pen and would practically do the sums on the phone as they are being projected on the screen. We realized that it brought the practical part of mathematics into the virtual environment. In Kenya as a country, we have just rolled out CBC, the curriculum-based learning, which needs our learners to go out of their way and do more of practical than theory. And the things we would do, basically for our lower grades, we would want them, once an assignment is posted, we want them to do that assignment in their own exercise box, like math, and then they would take a photo and upload. The teacher using Google Classroom would mark. It brought in the practical aspect that was lacking in the online learning module.
Thank you. Nontogo?
Another good thing is making sure that they are responding to whatever practical component that is being done. So that is through engaging them through questions and asking them to reflect on whatever is happening practically. Because it's so easy to lose learners when you're working with something and they're not in the same space as you. So apps that require learners to respond to a certain aspect, a certain step in practical work when working online is good to keep them on their toes and also to be engaged in the learning situation.
Right. I'm going to add my 2 cents. The other thing that I think we should also try to use is Google Meet. And I think we often think of using Google Meet to teach entire classes. And you can, I know a lot of school teachers right now are using Meet to schedule office hours, so students can just join them for a short conversation or ask a quick question, which helps with the engagement. And also one could use Google Meet to actually project or demonstrate those live practical tasks that have to be demonstrated. I think that we have an upcoming webinar that's going to focus on Google Meet in this series, so check back on the webinar landing page for that. I also wanted to throw out, because Victor mentioned mathematics, a couple things I mentioned in the chat today, but Desmos graphing calculator is a really fantastic tool for math teachers, as well as GeoGebra. And GeoGebra is available on Windows, on Mac, on Chromebooks, on Android. It's a fantastic tool that mathematics teachers use, and there are thousands of free lessons that have been created by educators, and there's a plugin for Google Classroom. So things that you create in GeoGebra, you just literally click a button, and that goes into your Google Classroom work stream. So it's a really marvelous tool to use. I'm going to turn it back to Alan to wrap up today. I want to thank you guys. That was really fantastic, and great questions from our audience today.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this webinar. We'd like to thank everyone, all our partners who participated in making sure everything has gone on smoothly. Mr. Oscar, the background, thank you so much for the opportunity. And everyone else, would like to wish you all the best. And let's see you next time for the next webinar this coming Wednesday on 30th. Thank you so much.